Yeah, enough with the Mark Few hate. Like, I'm done with it. Like, enough of Mark Few this and that, and he's a whiner, and he's a complainer, and he's a bad guy, and everything else at times you hear in this market. Enough of that.
I never hear that, and good, because none of that is true.
Well, I'm glad. Well, I hear a fair amount of it. I certainly received some of that on Twitter. Enough of it. The way that he handled himself on the grandest stage last night was the biggest compliment to his class and his character, and the way, like you just said, Mike, his team followed his lead was incredibly impressive. That's not easy to do. Right, a 7-year-old is sobbing in the couch. Maybe a 40-year-old, and what are you now, 38? Maybe we're both a bit angry, a bit perturbed, a bit bothered by it. I don't know if I would have handled it quite with that level of class that some of those guys did, that Nigel did, and certainly that Mark Few did in those moments where everybody is watching how you handle adversity. It's easy to handle joy. How you handle adversity, first-class job by that program yesterday, by Mark Few, the head coach.
What happened to Karnowski last night?
I don't know.
I mean, he couldn't hit layups. I mean, it wasn't like, he was.
Were they just dead? Was the shooting so bad last night? I will say this,
the team seemed exhausted. Both teams seemed really tired.
And part of that
is a gauntlet,
you
man.
said it is, but you said this yesterday, and you hear an analyst say it all the time, and it's true in basketball. You expend an immense amount of energy, and how hard those guys were playing defense. When you watch them, I mean, just compare and contrast a Pac-12 game that you've watched on a Thursday and Saturday, and look at the defensive effort, and watch those guys running on top of screens, right? The physical contact and the play inside and the effort, Mike, and those guys, getting to their backside help. And both teams, North Carolina was so long and athletic, and every shot, I mean, it just drains you.
Well, and
drains
beyond that,
you,
look at the gauntlet they had to run to get there. I mean, I know North Carolina had their own tough games, but the West Virginia game and the game the other night against South Carolina, I mean, Gonzaga played these teams that play ridiculous full court, all over the place defense, and that's got to be exhausting. Now, they were deep, and that helped. They didn't just roll out 6 guys. I mean, they had 8 or 9 guys that were able to rotate through, and that obviously keeps you a little bit fresher. But between that and then just the refs trying to take over the game, I mean, just the whole thing was sort of nauseating last night. And I'll admit, it had me wondering about why I was a sports fan by the end of the evening.